Hey, really appreciate the opportunity to come down here and speak with you folks and share what's on my heart today and hopefully encourage you a little bit as we go forward. When Ryan called me about a month ago, actually he left me a voicemail from Finland. He was over there in Finland and he says, I got this crazy idea. You got to be there. I was like, hey, I'm up for crazy ideas. Let's do it. So we did that. So he gave me about a half an hour, 40 minutes to talk to you this morning. I'm going to share some thoughts about community. I titled this, and I don't normally do that, but the glory of community, clay, cows, and commerce. Because I think that we have to get back to some things that are local and understand how wonderful and beautiful those local things are. We have gotten so used to getting things international, world. We pay attention to what's going on in France and we pay attention to what's going on in Brazil, and we don't know what happened at our town hall and what affects us more. We get distracted about all these things. So I really want to talk a lot about the glory of community. I'm going to go over quite a few things this morning that I have over 53 years of living kind of learned, kind of absorbed, and hopefully just share my thoughts and my ideas. You may have different ideas. That's fine. If you do, talk to me about them, because the iron sharpens iron needs to happen. And it happens in places like this in Farmington, Missouri, underneath a tent with a group of people who just have a shared goal and we're looking for the best solutions and the best application of that. So I'm going to share a lot of things. I'm going to go kind of fast. And I was thinking about that while I was milking cows. As Ryan said, I'm a dairy farmer. I'll share a little bit more of that story as we get into the talk. But I was thinking about that. And when I'm milking cows, that's when I think, because I've been milking cows so long, I don't have to think about it. It's just do. And I was thinking about how am I going to get across these ideas in a quick format? And it reminded me of a story from my childhood. Well, my young adulthood, let's say. I was homeschooled back in the 80s, back when it was illegal and you hid. That was what was going on. And we had friends whose fathers were taken to prison for homeschooling when I lived in Michigan. Another thing that Ryan and I have in common, living in Michigan. He hasn't been to prison that I know of, and neither have I. So anyhow, that I know of, yes. So anyhow, we had become something of a anomaly and a source of information for other people who wanted to homeschool. And one day this young mother came over to see my mom, and she was asking some questions about homeschooling. And my mom said, why do you want to do this? And she said, so this would have been in early 90s. And she said, well, I'm so frustrated with our public school system and the things that have happened there. I have got a fourth grader daughter, and she went to school. She came back that day, and she had been in health class, and the health teacher told her, started to talk about the birds and bees, and then stopped and said, now you need to go home and ask your mom and dad these questions and get them to talk to you about them. And this mom was very irate that this teacher had done that, and I wholeheartedly agree with her. And she was explaining her frustration to my mom, and they talked about that for a little bit. And I happened to come in at the end of this conversation into our home while this conversation was going on. And the mom was going through all of this frustration. They got all done with that, and my mom looked at the other mother there of this young student, this young girl, and she said, so how did the young girl take it? And the mom thought about it for a minute, and then she says, well, I sat down with her and I explained it all to her. And she says, okay, what did the little girl say? And she looked up at her and she says, Mommy, how do I fit that on this little 3x5 card? And that's kind of how this is going to go this morning. There's a lot of information. I hope you can grasp it. I hope you can catch it. And as we go through it. So the glory of community, clay, I was trying to get it all C's, so I use clay instead of soil. Clay, cows, and commerce, and why community is needed. Ryan and I met through X. Yeah, there you go, X people. About a year and a half ago, when Elon after Elon had bought it, he said, we're all journalists now. Everybody's got to get on here and start saying things. So I was very upset about what was going on with mandatory electronic ID in the beef industry. We'll talk about that later. That's not part of this talk. And I started doing these little short videos on X because I thought, I've got a voice, I want to speak to this issue. And so I was speaking to the issue, and then I got this idea to talk about other things. And so I started doing this morning update 5 days a week called The Parlor Pit. And I just take 10, 12 minutes and just share what's on my thoughts that morning. Some of it's just, a lot of BS, and some of it's actually worthy. So I started to do that, and I was getting really good feedback. And I thought, well, I need to keep doing this. So I've been doing that for about 1.5 years now, and that's how Ryan and I kind of initially crossed paths, and Jacob as well, and Texas Slim, who's here, Steve Williams, some of these guys that follow me on that. And I was thinking about this idea of community, and I was thinking about what that means. And if you know me at all and you've watched my videos, you know that I'm a Christian. And so I am a first roots guy. Everything that we deal with, we got to get back to a basic principle, because we started. It's like the physician. You walk in and he says, I've cut my finger and my fingernail is hanging off. And he goes, well, I'll fix the fingernail. Well, he's taking care of a symptom. Or he says, well, I'll reduce your pain. Well, you're still going to bleed out, So you got to get to the root causes of things. And I think the Bible has the best opportunity for us to look at root causes. So I'm just going to bring out some things. I'm kind of unabashed. I have never been embarrassed. So if I get embarrassed today, it'll be the first time, and you guys will be able to see that. So I wanted to bring out some ideas from that, because community is the first thing, one of the first things God mentions in the Bible. And we don't think about that a lot. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, God is explaining, through Moses, he tells Moses, this is what happened when I created man. And he says to him, and there's this famous thing, and a lot of us have heard it at weddings in this verse, and it says, and God, I'm going to open my Bible here because I am actually forgetting that right now. I got a lot of stuff to keep track of here. Give me a second.
Genesis is in the front.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Hey, that's all right. Yeah. Thanks for that from the back row. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, it says, and the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. So my mom was an English teacher. So she taught me punctuation. And we oftentimes take that scripture and we just go, it's all about you and your wife. That's not what it's about. That first part, it says, it is not good that man should be alone. Before God made a woman, before God did anything else, he said there needs to be community around this man. It's not good that man should be alone. And we live in a time where we have too much individualism. We focus on the individual too much. We look at the individual and we say, you need to be part of a cog in the machine. You're just part of the cosmos. And God said, you're a special person created in the image of God, but you need other special people that have other skills. And as we go through that, we see that through the Bible, God uses different people with different skills to do different things at different times. So we need one another, because none of us is a specialist. We think I can do just this. Well, guess what? You can do a lot of things. You can do more than just one thing. And so in community, we need to get together with people who meet our weaknesses and find our common strength in that. And it's imperative. And that was from God. God was like, don't be a loner. You got to have community. You got to have togetherness. And in order to do that, guess what? God put a person next to them. He said, it's not, we talked about meeting on X, and I was excited about getting down here and actually seeing people. because we have these online communities, but we don't have that nearby local community. Because when it really gets tough, I can call Ryan and say, hey, Ryan, I need help. And he'll say, I'll be there in 5 hours. The problem is probably already taken care of itself by the time Ryan gets there. But I can call my neighbor across the street and say, Bob, I got a problem. And Bob can come over because I know Bob. I know David. I know Ivan. And those guys will go, oh yeah, I'll be right over. I'll help. And you've got to have community. So in this time of individualism, we've got to be able to find other people, because it does two things. One is it brings accountability. In our system of government, which I think is wonderful as it was originally created, not what it is today. The original creation of that government was bottom up. And we've gotten to this top-down edict system. And we need to get back to that bottom up again, where the people at the bottom have the most control. And it doesn't really matter. After 250 years, you'd think we'd solved all the problems. Why do we need somebody at the top anymore? You would think that we'd have it in our water system here in our local community where we can take care of these problems. So local community, it gives you accountability. We really can't. We all talk about voting. I vote. I used to be part of the state Republican committee when I lived in Iowa. Guess what? You vote, they leave, you can't hold them accountable. They do their thing. And then you come back and it's like, well, on the curve that we grade them on, well, they got close. So it could be worse. It could be worse. Well, how you know? You know, it's bad. How much worse can it get? It can get worse, obviously. But we can hold each other accountable at that local community level. We can also build each other up at that local community level. What we have now is we have this disconnect. And the only thing that you bring of value is your monetary contribution. And that's not how we were made. God didn't make us to just be an ATM for a globalist nationalist corporation. That's what we are. He didn't make you to be the next opportunity for how many mills we can get on the property taxes. He didn't make you to be that economic withdrawal for someone else. He made you to be accountable, and he made you to be valuable to your community through your craftsmanship, your skills, your children, your dedication to that community. And we don't have that today. And we don't have that because, guess what? We chose not to. You know, there's that, I think it was an old Yosemite Sam cartoon. He says, we have met the enemy and he is us. The first thing we've got to do is get up in the morning and look at him and say, it's me, like the old Negro spiritual, it's me, the sinner, needing prayer. Start with you. We've got a lot of people after the events of the last few weeks who say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to pick up the microphone, and I'm going to do that. And I go, hey, like I said to one young man who was talking to me on X about this, who I've gotten to know, and I says, listen, I says, you're 27, you're a fat slob, your mom and dad don't like you, your wife doesn't like you, take care of you. You want to be Charlie Kirk? Take care of you. Stop watching porn, stop playing on FanDuel, stop doing all that stuff, and become something better. You. And he was like, yeah, but nobody will know that. I said, everybody will know that. Yeah. Everybody will know that because you'll be better. And then go and pick up that other thing. There's that Bible verse that everybody likes to quote in Matthew. And it says, before you take the splinter out of your neighbor's eye, pull the plank out of your eye. And then go and pull that splinter out of the other guy's eye. We stop and we all go, well, I've got issues in my life. And yeah, I got that plank out of my eye. Great. Now you can see clearly to go to get the splinter out of everybody else's eye. Be a help. Be something in your community to help other people. We have got to get a little bit further into saying, I'm going to help. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. I would hate to know, if you saw me 10 years ago, I'm not the man I am now. And thank God for that. And my wife sitting in the back would say, yep, I can agree to that. But you know what? Every day I fail forward. Every day I get up and I say, I'm going to do better than I did yesterday. Some days I do, a lot of days I don't. But every day I get up with that idea because I've got a community of people in my church, in my family, in my local township who are looking at me and saying, hey, how are you going to do better? So community, understand, that's the first thing God said to us. Don't be a loner. Don't be alone. You can, because you are connected and because you see other people, you can start to point out, that guy's having issues. I need to go help him. The man who shot Charlie Kirk, if somebody had said when he was spending all that time alone, hey, it's not good for you to be alone. You need to have community. There may have been a different outcome last Tuesday. Because somebody would have come alongside him and said, you're having trouble. I can see that you're alone. I can see that you're disillusioned. Let's keep that disillusionment to something and turn it into hope instead of nihilism. And that's where we ended up with. We ended up with a nihilistic man who thought there is no objective truth. There is nobody but me. There is no reason to live anymore. And I hate everything around me, so I'm just going to burn it all down. And we're full of young men like that right now in our world who have no desire for betterment, but they have every desire to just burn it all down. And us as a community need to start to see those people and not look at them as a danger or a threat, but look at them as an opportunity to invest in them to make them better. Remember, Jesus went to the tax collectors and the prostitutes because he said, those guys are sitting outside my community. Those are the people who are going to burn it down. But guess what? They have so much passion, they have so much fire, they're going to burn it down for me instead of burning it down for them. And that's the difference. What kind of fire burns in you? Does a fire burn in you for community, or does it burn in you for self? And that's where we got to start. And that's one of the things that I like about Bitcoin, which we're going to look at here in a little bit. The next thing we see from the Genesis account is the ground was cursed. But guess what? Where are you from? You ever been to a funeral? What do they say? From dust to dust. We all had pretty humble beginnings. We aren't very clean. We weren't very pretty to look at. Now, I like soil, so I like picking it up, putting it in my hands, and seeing its tilth and seeing its organic matter and seeing and thinking about what that's going to grow for my cattle. But guess what? God looked down at it and he said, in this dirt is life. Think about what we've learned about dirt in the last 5 years. We don't even know maybe but 1% of all of the organisms that live in a pound of dirt. We think of dirt as unalive. It's dust that we wipe off our precious ornaments in our house. And God goes, no, it's life. It's living. And community springs from this dirt. And people spring from this dirt. When you think about who you are, you say, I am, like for me, I am J.R. Burdick. I was born in Battle Creek, Michigan. I was born in a place. I was born by some dirt. I was born by a local community in this geography. And guess what? Your attachment is to the soil. But I had a young man come out to the farm this year, and he helped us on the farm for a couple of days, about a week. He was from New York City. Cool kid. Never had seen green grass. 21 years old, never had seen green grass. Didn't understand what it was. And we're out there fixing fence, and we're moving cattle, and we're moving hogs, and he's like, wow, he's like, this farming is legit, man. He kept saying that. It was like, it's hot, it's 90 some degrees, and I just worked him in the morning, and he was like, this is ridiculous, man. You do this every day? I go, well, yeah. And I says, in the winter, it's cold. Like, how cold? I says, like really cold. He says, man, how do you do it? It's not climate controlled. It's not this. It's not that. I said, yeah, it's life. It's not dirty. It's not pretty. It's not controlled. And we look at soil and we go, I'm going to control this. And our overlords look down and they go, I'm going to control this plot of land, and I'm going to control where the water moves in it, and I'm going to control where the traffic goes in it, and I'm going to control where the houses are built in it, and I'm going to and God was just like, I'm going to make this man out of dirt, and I'm going to let him roam the dirt. I'm going to let him get out there and be a man. But when you get stuck in that hive and you get stuck in that place, you just become a machine. And God didn't make us to be machines. He made us to be men, for you men in the room. And he made women to be women. And we forgot that because we got in this androgynous system of the cities where everything's the same every day. And I can just make it be. It should come just because I asked for it. Because I pulled up to the little clown head speaker and I ordered my food, and I should get clown food out of it. And you do. It's clown food. But the ground was cursed. But God said, it's still good soil. You just got to work a little harder now. You just got to put some effort into it. You got to do something. And we forget that. And we sit back and we just say, it should just come to me. Guess what? Successful people in life don't have anything just come to them. They earn it. And it doesn't happen the first day you go out and work. It may not happen in 5 years. I am 53 and I'm still waiting for the ship to come in. All right. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes nose to the grindstone. It takes principled behavior that says, I am going to get up every day and do what I need to do. I said I was going to talk about Bitcoin because we're at the Bitcoin conference. And I think there's a lot of biblical things that we can look at that are ties between Bitcoin and money. Not that I'm saying that we're going to use Bitcoin in heaven. It is heavenly though. So we look over some things sometimes when we talk about commerce. And the first thing that we have to understand is the thing that has been most stolen from us is our time. They have devalued your time. It's an amazing thing when you go back and you look at things. Now, some of you are probably really into Bitcoin, and some of you are really into money, and some of you are like, this is my first really foray into this, and I'm trying to understand some things. So I'm going to just ask real quick some audience participation while I get a drink of water here. What happened in 1935?
Called into gold.
What was that?
They called into gold.
They closed the gold window. Yes. Under which president?
Roosevelt. Franklin. Fraudulent deficit Roosevelt.
Yeah. FDR. He closed the gold window, made it actually illegal for you to own gold. Actually sent IRS agents and FBI agents to people's homes and confiscated their gold. What? That happened. And at that point in time, they fixed the price of gold, and they said, we are so smart, and we are so great, and we are so much above all that is natural, that we are going to make a unnatural call and say that your money is only worth what we say it's worth. And so they shut down the gold window. What happened in 1971? Anybody know?
Nixon had a temporary order to take the U.S. dollar off the gold standard. It's a temporary.
Yeah. In 1971, August of 1971, Nixon says, hey, we're going to take you off the gold standard. You know why he did that? Because the French were coming over and taking their gold. They actually sent warships into New York City and said, we're taking our gold. And Nixon was like, 1971, that was the year. And Nixon said, we're running out of gold. We can't keep doing this. So he said to the French, Charles de Gaulle was the president or the premier there. He said, you can't do this anymore. So we're going to give you dollars. They're just as good as gold. And somehow the French accepted that. I'm still trying to figure that part out. It's like, really? Okay, you had a real asset and you gave it up for real paper. That's interesting. They must have had a lot of coloring books they needed filled over in France. So there we were in 1971. In 1971, this is where agriculture and money started to just divide, and this is where people started to be able to really lose their value. I'm going to take one step back and give you one other number from 1935. In 1938 was the first year of the federal minimum wage. The federal minimum wage was 28 cents an hour in 1938. It took you, get to my notes here because I want to get this right. It took you 125 hours to earn an ounce of gold in 1938. Today, the federal minimum wage is $7.25. With the price of gold at the close on Thursday, it takes you 510 hours to earn an ounce of gold today. They have stolen your time. You were able to get in 125 hours an ounce of gold, and now you have to work 510 hours to get an ounce of gold. In 1935, when the gold window closed, the average household income, and understand that there wasn't too many two-person incomes then, it was usually just the man was working, but the household income was $1,500 in 1935. That would buy you 42.8 ounces of gold in 1935. $1,500 doesn't sound like much, does it? 42.8 ounces of gold sounds like a little something. In 2025, the average U.S. household income with a two-wage earner family made $103,000. I'm not quite there. That will buy you at Thursday's close, it would buy you 27.8 ounces. So now you are having to work twice as hard because now there's two people working to earn almost exactly half of the same amount of gold. They have stolen your time. And we just I don't ever hear anybody say anything about it. In 1971, a farmer that was selling hogs, and I raise hogs, so I kind of know a little bit about this. Price of hogs is about 40 cents a pound. It took about 280 pounds of pork to buy an ounce of gold. At the close on Friday, hogs were selling for just about 93 cents a pound, which is a very good price for live hogs. It would take 3,780 pounds of pork today to buy an ounce of gold. And we wonder why our price of our food is going up. Because we have devalued the labor of the guy who is making that. And that commerce is what has become where we've replaced craftsmanship, we have replaced hard labor with merchandising, where people are making money off your money and off your time. And who is it among us that makes the most money? The guys at the top closest to the Federal Reserve. Joel Salatin is somebody you may have heard of, maybe you haven't, a good farmer out in West Virginia. And he has a lot of great things, and I agree with him like on 95% of it. And he always talks about his model and how much money he's made and how he can sell his stuff. Not bragging. I don't want to make it sound like he's bragging about how much money, but he talks about how his system and how he can sell a chicken for $40 for a whole bird. And he and I had an email conversation once, and I says, one of the things you forget to tell everybody is that you live in the middle or next to the 7 richest counties in the United States. You know what those 7 richest counties have that they produce? Money. They produce the federal government. There is a problem when our public servants can be the richest among us that don't produce anything and don't give us any real value. And yet you pay taxes, you vote for them, you contribute to their campaigns, and you hope for something better. In Isaiah chapter 1, verse 22, Isaiah was a prophet of God. And God is talking to Isaiah. And I'm bringing up all these things from the Bible because you say, how does that apply to me? The Bible is God's manuscript of how man should live. All right? And it's practical. It can be applied. It's full of wisdom that makes your life better. And we forget about this, and we think of it only in terms of we want to debate eschatology or the end times. We want to debate certain practices. We want to debate this other thing, and we don't ever debate the meat of what God said. This is how you be a man. This is how you be a woman. This is why I made you different. This is why you need people around you. This is what your money should do. He was very upset about what our government was doing and any government was doing with money. We forget to look back. We know that Jesus overturned the money changers in the temple, their tables, but we forget he did it twice. He did it first at the beginning of his first year of ministry at 30 years of age. That was one of the very first political statements he made. He went in after he had changed the wine or water into wine in Canaan and those things. And very shortly after that, he went to the temple and he saw those people there who were defrauding other people, especially the poor, in how they handled their money. And he was irate, and he made a whip out of cords, and he went in and he threw the temple tables over, and he chased the money changers out of the temple. That was the first time. And then he did it again. So he said, you didn't get it the first time, I'm going to put the Annunciation pouring on it. And it was right after that, they said, we got to kill this guy. Because why? He's taking away our power. Not only of our theology, but also of our ability to make money off of everybody here. So in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 22, he says, your silver has become dross. It's really interesting when you start to look at that. What's dross? Dross is all the impurities in silver. And you look back, I had a fella come up from Arkansas and visit me at the farm here a few weeks ago. I had done a podcast with Vance Crowe out of St. Louis, and he had heard that. And he was in the area, he wanted to stop in. He walked up to me, about a 60-year-old man, a little bit older than me, and he shook my hand and he says, I just wanted to see if you were real. I was like, yeah. In all my glory out here, covered in cow crap and every sweat and everything from a day's work, I'm as real as it gets. This is me. And he started to tell me stories. And on his farm down in Arkansas, there was a spot where they had fed cattle all of their hay and stuff. And one day he went out there and he found that had been an old battlefield where the Confederates and the North Union soldiers had fought. And he was digging around and he found a coin. And then he found another coin. And he picked them up. And he took them into a jeweler in town. And they cleaned them up. One was a Spanish silver or Spanish bullion piece of gold. The other one was a silver dollar, a silver coin of some type. But the silver coin was full of pewter. Somebody had tried to pass that off as the real thing, and it was fake. And that happened a lot. But we could look at that, and you could look at your money and you could say, hey, this ain't right. But how often when you go to pay cash for something, or now you pull out your debit card and you just swipe it, do you look at it and say, this ain't right? God talking to Isaiah says, your silver has become dross. Then a couple verses later in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 25, it says, I will purge your dross. And we're to a point now where we can't continue to scam. It's falling, it's imploding, it's getting overweight, it's over its head. And we sit there and we go, there's natural reasons, but God says, yeah, but I use natural means to make my means happen. And so get on the right side of that stuff, folks. Get to the place where you have productive assets. We have gotten to a society where we talk about our 401ks like they're always going to be there. I just was telling my wife as we were driving down here yesterday, they're talking about, for the first time in my lifetime, seriously talking about raising the retirement age for Social Security. And they're sitting there and they go, we can't afford this anymore. We can't afford to keep doing this. So you can't count on those money changers being able to continually give you more and more. You're going to have to start to have a community. You're going to have a productive asset. You're going to have to make a connection with a local farmer who can supply you good quality, valuable food. It's not cheap. I sell my milk for $13 a gallon. And people go, I can buy it in the store for $5. No, you can't. I point out, no, you can't. I say that one of the worst things that happened in humanity is we homogenize milk because the cream doesn't rise to the top anymore. And so people don't understand what that means. There's the good stuff. And guess what? They take all the good stuff out when they sell you milk in the store. And they go, here you go. And we mix all this stuff together and we call it food. And God, what he's saying here when he talks about the silver and the dross, he says, I hate things that are mixed together. I want purity. He says, I don't want you to be a friend with the world. I want you to be a friend to me. Don't mix the two. Have you looked at an ice cream label? Do you know if you can't eat gluten, you can't eat ice cream? Every ice cream that's commercially available has wheat in it. Why? Because they can make it cheaper. They can throw a filler in there and they can get you to go, oh. And so we'll have folks that'll say, I can't eat ice cream anymore. Are you gluten insensitive? Yes. There's your answer. You can't. We've mixed so many things together now, we don't have any purity. So, as I close, here's what I would encourage you guys to do. Don't leave this place and go, well, that was really good. No, leave this place and say, I need to know who my community is. Most of us are sitting around going, I don't know who that is. Most of us are wondering, who do I belong to? Oh, we're Americans. Oh, we're Missourians. Yes. But do you have somebody close by that can hold you accountable, that can build you up, that you can go to and say, I have a need. Find that community. Get out, walk in the green grass. Get in the soil. Get that dirt underneath your fingers, whether it's gardening, whether it's a backyard chicken, whatever. Make it a productive asset. Start to find a way where you can say, I can be self-sufficient in my community. And then look at your commerce. Where's your money being spent? Is your money being spent with a globalist that doesn't care about you but only wants another finance charge from you? Or are you going to a local community business like Liberty Fencing, like these folks over here, these restaurants that are up and down Main Street? Do you look to those people and say, that's who I want to support? Do you look at your investments and say, I want to invest in things that build up my community, not bring in BlackRock and lose my homes to them and my single family dwellings? I really appreciate you guys listening. I hope I've said something that can be useful today to you. I hope it can be an encouragement. And I hope that you'll leave this place going, today wasn't wasted. And I don't think it will be. Thank you so much again.